Hey everyone, I hope you're having a nice weekend. Thank you for joining me today. We're gonna be going over some of the changes that I did to the streaming setup. So as you might see now, there is a bar on top that has like some of my social network stuff. And then another thing I added is a follower goal. So now we are able to show how many followers we have and how many followers we're trying to achieve during our stream. And then we have another section next to it that says new followers. So I'm going to be going over that today a bit, so to show how I did that. And then the other stuff that I'm going to be doing is like clean up some of the stuff I worked on before. While working on adding this header, I noticed that there's a lot of copying and pasting that could be avoided by just like splitting out some of the CSS and splitting out some of the moving the JavaScript into files that they could be shared across multiple views. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing today. One of the changes, I also changed my OBS setting setup as well. Instead of having multiple views, multiple scenes, I have only one scene, and then I could switch between sources. The thing that started happening was that since I'm using a lot of browser sources, I was running out of CPU, so my computer was just like really working very hard. Yeah, and I also did something I should know better not to do. I updated my Mac last night, my MacBook last night, and it started crashing. So it might end up crashing today. So if it crashes today, I'm sorry. I should know better not to update to the latest macOS version on my dev computer until like 2 or 3 months from now. Yeah, let's get started. So let's go over here and cool. So one of the changes that I started doing, so let's start with the goal side of things. I made a bit of goal changes to be able to support the new header on top. So let's show how that one looks. So the way that this one looks like is, let's see. Cool. So the way it works is that we have a so we have, this is pretty much what it looks like. So we have the followers, and then we have the social network side of things. So we have Twitch, Twitter, and GitHub, and then the goals themselves. So the new followers too. So we could go there. So the way I added this from the Go side is that I made a change to the Twitch API that we were using. So now we're also getting the count of followers. So when the server first starts up, it's going to ping the Twitch API. It's going to get our latest follower. So in this case, SSP 2014. So it's going to get their name, and then it's also going to get a count of how many followers we have. So we get a count of how many followers we have, and we could use that. We are going to store it in our cache. So as we're doing before, we're storing the follower ID, but now we're storing the follower name and also the follower count. So the total amount of followers that we have. And then I added a new endpoint for our server, which returns that information back to us. So the way it looks like. Oops. So the way it looks like is that we have API/goals, and then goals returns the follower name, so the latest follower, their name, and then they also returns our goal. So our goal is to get 70 followers, and then the total. So the total is the number of followers that we have. So that's coming from the Twitch API. And then the way this works here is that we created a set of a JavaScript function that goes. So this new JavaScript function does it does two things. So we use a new Fetch API that some browsers are supporting now. So we use the Fetch API to do a async request. So that's why we have to have a wait here, because we're doing async request. So we were saying do a request and wait for the response. And when we get a response, turn it's JSON, so parse the JSON back into a JavaScript object. Cool. So when it does that, so this is the one, the update header function is the one calling it. So we're calling it, and then we're storing the data in a value called data, and then we get the different elements that we need to be updating, and then we just update it in place. So we just add the name of the new follower, so this one here, and then we add the count. So we add the total. So this is the total followers we have right now, and then we have this our goal, which is stored inside of one of the configuration files. So I should take this console log out here. But then the cool thing about it is, since we created an event using this server send events server, we could just listen to that event, right? So here we're just connecting to our server event, and then we're saying every time there's a new follower, update the header, right? And then it will, so if someone starts following us now, it will update the header. And then we will, the first time we load the page, we want to update a follower right away. So we're doing that here. So that's pretty much how the header works. And then the other thing I did as well was, and then for the Go side of things, we're just creating a struct in place, inline, with our information that we need. And then we're just doing JSON, using a new encoder, and then just encoding it back to JSON. And then that's pretty much what the API itself is returning. One other thing I did was, if you were watching last stream on Friday, I was having, we have a new notification. So if you haven't seen it yet, there is, if someone follows us, a new notification will come from the top and play a sound. We had some issues with the notification before, where the sound just like was very scattered. I discovered that there is a bug in OBS Studio that when the first time that the sound plays, it's gonna play really bad, but then afterwards it's just gonna sound really good. So to get around it, I made a bit of changes, right? So this is just one messy hack that I had to do to get the sound to sound correctly on OBS. So what I'm doing is I am setting the audio on the sound that we're going to be playing to 0. When the page first loads, the volume will be set to 0, and then it's going to play it. So we're secretly playing the sound every time that we start the stream. We are secretly playing the sound of the new follower alert. So we don't hear it, but it's playing in the background. So it plays once in the background, and then when it's done playing in the background, it starts then it starts then using the set timeout function to just so it says everything else off that is needed to send notifications. So that was kind of how I got around it. So the first time it sounds, it's going to sound really bad, so we're not going to hear that. The second time that when the notification starts turning on, then we're going to start hearing it in a better way. One thing that I also changed was I was using set interval before, which allows you to constantly run a after n milliseconds you trigger an alert, right? You call a function. The issue that I noticed was that since I was using set interval, it was using a bit more CPU because it just constantly keeps running. What I changed here is that instead of using set interval, I am using set timeout. So the set timeout function, the way it works is that it only runs once. It doesn't run constantly. So you're just gonna run once. It's gonna do everything that it needs to do to be able to update, to show the notification in the stream. But also the thing it's gonna do is gonna call itself again. So it's gonna call show notification again, and then that is also gonna set a new set timeout function, which is gonna be called again, and then when it gets called again, you're able to it's gonna wait 25 seconds and then trigger the notification. What we're doing here is that we're creating a oh, I found a mistake, but I will fix it next. So what we're doing right now is that we're doing we're creating a recursive set timeout function that just keeps calling itself over and over again. So that's kind of one of the cool things that I ended up fixing as well. So this will reduce the CPU usage by a lot, and that's kind of the goal. The goal is to be able to stream in the same computer, but that I'm programming as well, to see if there's so it wouldn't there wouldn't be resource contention between like the streaming software and whatever we end up building. So the mistake that I had here, which I just fixed, was so the show notification should always run, doesn't matter if there's a display name or not. The bug that we had is that in this case, there should always be a display name. So it should always be calling itself. So that's might be one of the bugs that we see in the stream, is that we have the notifications might not work correctly in that case because it wouldn't call itself. But I could just go and refresh the source, so I could make sure that it works when we start looking at it. Cool. So that's when it comes to the header itself and the push notification. So the push notification should be working. So if you want to try it out, you know what you have to do. You have to, if you're a new follower, you have to start following us. If you're a current follower, you could subscribe, but be warned that because you unsubscribe, I ended up getting, so everyone that unsubscribed on Friday, I ended up getting 20 new subscribers according to Twitch, which doesn't really make sense because people were just unsubscribing, subscribing, but that mess up their metrics. So maybe we shouldn't do that again. Cool. So okay, so the thing that I want to change from our current setup is that we don't have our CSS is all in one place. We don't have any CSS. So for example, like our starting soon page, all the CSS is here. And then I created, so in CSS3 there is a way to create variables. So you can do variables in CSS3. They call it properties and variables, so it depends. So you could have variables. So the good thing with variables is that you could define the variables and then just reuse them over and over again. So the way that you use them is by calling var and then the variable name. It's a bit weird that you have to use the dashes in front, but that's fine. But it just making changes to it becomes very easy, right? So like instead of doing something like you want all the backgrounds to be brown, you can just set a variable called main background color, and then you can set it to brown, and then every place that is going to use that, you could do that. You could just like reuse it, and then when you go back and you change brown to something else, any other place that depends on that one color will get updated. So that's kind of the cool thing about it. And a lot of websites are starting to use the CSS variables for supporting the dark themes. So if you see a website that you could turn in like dark mode or light mode, the way that it's supporting it most likely is by using a variable. So that means that you just have to inverse the colors you have that you're using, which is cool. So there's like different ways to do it too. So you can inherit some of the properties, and you can override the properties too. Yeah, so the thing that we're gonna be doing today, we're just gonna do a bit of cleaning up for the first like 30 minutes to like hour, and then I want to jump back to doing the Twitch client for chat. So we could just start putting it together in some places to make it a lot easier. But first, I want to start splitting this up. So the way I will split it up is by just creating new CSS files, because we haven't done any, like we have 0 CSS files. So I'm gonna call it. So the first one is gonna be for variables, which is gonna hold all the variables that we have. So I'm gonna use this file here to store all the variables. And then since we have all the variables, we have all the variables, and then cool. And then we have to import it. So we're gonna import it. So we make sure that we have it. And the CSS variables. And if you go back here, you'll go to the starting page. Cool. We just want to make sure that the CSS gets loaded. Okay. And then the next one that we want to create is the one for the fonts, and like the different headers. So I would just call it the basic. So basic. And I'm just gonna like just keep going through these things like this and just like start splitting them up, because the better is gonna be for later on. It's gonna be super easy to just go and be like, okay, I want to change this, or this is not working anymore, we should change it. So that's kind of like, this is kind of the refactoring I want to do to make sure that as we go and we start making more changes and adding more things, we don't just make a bigger mess, and that will allow us to just like continue adding more stuff. Because the next thing we want to add, so the part I want to add, which I feel will be very cool, will be a way for us to show the chat as it's happening. So I want to be able to show it in the side. So that will be like, if we have our CSS and JavaScript in a good place, adding that will be more easier and less complicated, even though it's going to be a bit complex. The way I imagine the chat working is that it will just slide from the side. So every time a message gets sent into for our channel into the Twitch browser or app, it's going to just slide in from somewhere around here. So it's going to just slide in. Then it's just going to push up. So we might keep like 5 of them here as they push up. And then when it gets to 5, we remove the old one and then we put it in the new one. So that's kind of the thing we're going to be looking at maybe Monday. Another thing I thought about yesterday and Friday was how to a way for like the schedule for the streaming, or how often I will be streaming. So I decided to do so today, tomorrow, and then Tuesday, and then I would not stream on Wednesday and Thursday, and then I would do Friday and then Sunday again. It just so I have there's some other things I need to look at, so it would be nice to have like a nice balance between like what I want to, like what is happening, and yeah, so like and that means that I will have more time to like figure out what I want to build in the after we are done building our streaming tools. I want to figure out like what will be the next thing we're going to be building, and we could just figure out like what we're going to be building then. Cool. So I think I have moved everything from that is going to be reused across multiple. I think I move everything that is going to be used across multiple pages. So what I'm doing now is I'm not just shift some of this CSS that is used for the starting page specifically to a starting CSS sheet. And then what we're going to end up is like we're not going to have any CSS. We shouldn't have any CSS in our HTML file itself. And again, this is mostly for cleanliness, because like at some point it just becomes very messy to keep track of like, oh, I want to do X, but X is now part of this spreadsheet, so you end up copying and pasting it over and over again. One thing I also want to make sure is that the formatting is correct. I think I got everything here. And then we don't need these tags anymore. Let's refresh. Cool. So the page looks the same. And continues working. So all the desired CSS is now split up. So cool. So that means that now our astronaut, so our starting zone page is clean now. All the CSS has been removed, and some of the CSS that was being I felt were going to be used in another place were moved to their own place. So we can move to the next one. So let's just move to the next one. So we did. So let's do the Sandbag Page next, because that one also reuses a lot of the CSS. So here we want to do, so the ones on top, if you see the dual CSS sheets that are on top, those are from Google for the Google fonts that we're using. So we're using 2 fonts. So if you look at the counter for our goal, you will see that the numbers there look a bit like our starting zone page. So I'm using that font there. But then the other font for like the user social users names, they're using a different Google form. So we are always going to depend on variables because they have most of the colors there. And then the other one is basic. So get rid of all of this here. And this one has a lot of things that we're not using, so we can just make sure that. So if you're around Friday, I use this one this screen a lot, because I show some credentials. I was dealing with some credential stuff, so I needed to get rid of them. So this one has a lot of extra stuff that we don't even need, so I think we could get rid of this here. And then let's see, we're using title and we're using main, so we could move that to its own CSS file. So So we're going for cleanliness here. We want to make sure that everything's clean and reusable. So we want to make sure that we're able to reuse in other places too without having to copy and paste it. Because we ended up copy and pasting it a lot. So in the first couple of streams, there was a lot of copy and pasting. And now we just have to undo some of this copy and pasting. Cool. And then we get rid of these tags. As you can see, like the HTML file is just looking cleaner and cleaner as we go. Because like we're just removing a lot of we're just removing things that they're not using, and we're also screening things off and like making it more reusable. So cool. So that one is done. And then we did standby, we did starting soon. Let's do the offline one next. Yeah, this one has also a lot of things that shooting it doesn't use, right? So you can see how this has a timer. The timer is only used in the standby, in the starting overlay. So there is a lot of things that it's not needed here. So it's a good thing that we're just going through it and just like removing things that we don't need. So this one is. Cool. So let's see how this one looks. Okay, so we don't need the body. We removed something that I needed. So okay, let's see what we removed. So it's here. Okay, that was not it. Two on here. Didn't do it. I think I messed up the main class, the main element. Yeah, that's what I did. So we're just gonna add a new sheet. So we're just doing a bit of house cleaning here. We just want to make sure that things are in a good state before we just move on to doing something else. So we might, when we move to working on building the chat into the stream, so we want to display it in the stream, we want to make sure that everything is clean and tidy. So we don't have to like duplicate some of the stuff that some of the things that we have already done. We don't have to duplicate it, and we could just make sure that that is in a good place before we move on. And I will do the same thing to the Go code too, because I want to make sure that the Go code is in a good place too. Okay, so we go back here, and we don't need these tags. Oh, I didn't save the CSS in the correct place. Cool. So that one's done. So we did offline. So let's look at the notification one. And Same. So I just copy and paste some of the basic sheets that we're using, and then I'm just gonna take off some. So the notification will not work right away. We might have to make some changes for it to show for ourselves, but I will not change the one in the server. I'm just gonna notifications don't have a background, so we need to override the background here. How do you set the background? Okay, so for notifications, we need to just change how the background works. So for the background, we need to give it a so I have this autocomplete plugin, which I have never been able to get to work correctly, and at this point I should just turn it off. So it tries to autocomplete, but then it doesn't really do it correctly. So it uses snippets, but the snippets I haven't been able to get it to work at all. Just fails and then just leaves in a weird state. Cool. So notifications, and then for notifications, I want them. We just want to make sure that it shows, so we can see how it looks. Okay, so this is how the notification looks, and the name is missing because we don't have it yet. And here we want to do. We just want to make sure that the body. We want to override the body to have a transparent background. It's transparent, yeah. So this might not work. I might have to use something like important to be able to override it. But it should let me override. Let's see. Okay, so body. Oh wait, it didn't load the CSS. Oh, I added IS notifications to it, and that's why I didn't. Okay, so we have now a transparent background, which is what we need for notifications. So when the notification comes through, we want to make sure that we have a transparent background to it. So since we need that one there, and I think we're using all of these ones for notifications, so we could just move all of them. So we're not using some of the other components here. We are only using like only the value itself. Sorry, only the background itself. But not really, because we need to override it to a transparent one. And if you're new to the stream and CSS, this here manages the animation for the background. So for some reason the animation is happening here because we're showing it, but the goal is that you could see the animation when it happens. Like you can control how the animation works through using keyframes, and the keyframes handle the animations themselves. So like the goal is to have this here plus the username for the follower name just scan down through the side. Cool. So I think one of the changes I did was to make it go. So where was that? Okay. So make sure that it's correct. Yep. Then save it. Okay, so then the only ones left are, let's see, ending and the header. So those are the only two JavaScript HTML files that we have to fix. And then we're just gonna jump into the Go one and see if there's anything that we could change there. And after that, we're just gonna jump into working with Go to continue writing our Twitch chat client. Friday, we were able to connect to the Twitch server, to the Twitch chat server, and then we started getting messages in real time. What we're gonna be trying to do now is just like just start building like the necessary foundation to be able to do like some kind of parsing and things like that as we go. Yeah, so that's what we're gonna be doing. One cool thing I thought about while looking into what you could do with it. So I created a chat, I created an account that I'm going to be using to connect to the Twitch chat. What I think is going to be awesome is that we could send messages from there too. So I was wondering if it was possible for me to send every time someone joins the chat, saying like a message saying like, hey, this is what I'm working on. Please let me know if you have any questions and things like that. Because it gives you, every time someone joins the chat, it gives you that event. So you could see when someone joins the chat. Maybe that's something that we should do. So let's just run our chat server in our own channel. And let's just keep it running for a bit and see what we could see. So the messages themselves are going to go to... so the messages, when we see it, it's going to go into the chat. So right now, it's going to show up where you type. So it will be something like, hey, so I could show how it will look like. So first, I need to change to the channel that we're connecting to, because we're connecting to another streamer's channel. Let's just change it to connect to our own channel. And then I'm gonna send a message just so I could show how it would look like, and then I will go back to refactoring. So this is our simple Twitch client for the chat. So we are able to connect to the chat. We're able to see the messages that are going through the chat. So okay, cool. If you want to say something SSP 2014. We were able to see it in the chat itself. So if you type a message, like if I type, I do this. So as you can see, here's your message. So first, here's your username. I'm not sure if you can see that. But here's your username, and then every time you send a message, it's gonna show up here. And then if you leave and then come back, it's gonna then show you as joining. So we just have to figure out how to parse some of these things. But that's how it's gonna look. And we could ask, like, collect more information about it, right? It's like, so it could also show like the different colors and things like that. So the other cool thing that we could do, so I have to pull up the documents, but this will be quick, and then we'll go back to refactoring. There is one that is used to send messages. So what we're looking for is a command. Okay, so this is a command that we want. So the command that we want is, so what I'll be sending is, so I need to change this channel. Okay, so it's gonna be this channel and then the message to that channel. So here, let's make sure that this is correct. So okay, so we could try this and see if it sends a message. So we're sending a message. So it's joining our channel, the chat in our channel, and then it's gonna join, and then it's gonna send a message saying hello world. Yeah. So if you could see the chat, it's in the message. So what we could start doing is every time someone joins and we discover a join message, so the server itself is going to tell us that someone joined. So when we know that someone joins, we could be like, hey, this is what we're working on, and then explain a bit of what we're working on, and then say, and that would be pretty much it. Just give a quick recap of what we're working on, and the recap will be like the one I will have like a note somewhere that I will type it in every day before the stream starts, or during the stream every time I could change it as we switch between different things. So that would be the way that I would be thinking about it. But yeah, let's go back to refactoring some of this code. So again, there's a lot of duplicated code that we don't need. So this is the this is ending. So it's the thank you page that we show when we are about to end the stream, which is pretty straightforward. So we don't need any of these tags here. And we also don't need a body. Cool. I also noticed that some of them only have, I wonder if the main and the title are the same. If they are, I could get rid of one. So maybe that's the next thing that I will look into. If main is the same across the board, I could start just changing. I could just like put it in one file and not having multiple files. There's other things I thought about making the shot that we're gonna be able to do, but for now, like the one that I like the most is just being saying, like, just giving a quick recap of what is happening, because like the issue that I have is like I don't know when to give the recap. I've been doing it every once in a while, and then I give a recap, and then I go back. but you could see that it shows like when someone new joins. Even if they don't say a message or anything like that, we know that someone joined, so we could give them like a quick the bot itself could give a quick recap of what is going on. And then like as we give the quick recap, we could be like, because I don't want to like give like being like, oh, follow us. It's more like, here's a quick recap of what is happening. So like every time someone connects to this chat, we could just give a quick recap of what is going on. And then we could do cool things later on. So like when we have subscribers, we could, or VIP. So if we get 5 people chatting in the chat at the same time, it will then unlock a VIP badge and I could give it to like 5 or 6 people, maybe 10. And every time one of those people join, I could be like in this stream itself somewhere around here, I could be like give them a shout out for joining the stream and coming back. So that's kind of one of the cool ideas too. And pretty much like the bot itself is just to handle most of the things too. So I think we could, maybe one thing I would try doing is like giving it more permissions. So right now we're not giving it, we're not asking for too much information. So asking for membership. So we're asking for membership. We should ask for tags, commands. I wonder what happens if I put in one line. Let's try adding more. So let's see. So we're gonna ask for tags. So I wonder what the tags do. So oh, it adds more information to it too, and it also gives you more commands. Yeah, so it gives you a lot of more information. So so I'm gonna just add these tags now, so we have some things to test as we go. For everyone else, on Friday we ended up building like a tiny demo of how a chat, how we will connect to the Twitch chat server, and we created a new account, which is the one that posted hello world, and then that is connected to our chat right now, and we could see all the messages that are coming through that one account. And then we could send messages to it. So just took off the hello world because we don't want to post it again and again. Cool. So it gives you a bunch of information too. So it tells you, so because I turn on more flags, it tells you the different mode that the chat is in, and if it's in slow-mo or anything like that. And then it tells you more information of who is online right now. So you can see everyone that is online and watching the chat. And then that's very cool because we could see everyone that is in the chat right now and start building from there. So then we could check who's in the chat, and yeah, we could do cool things from there, like the VIP idea that I was thinking about. Okay, so the last file we have to do is a header. So we could also do Google commands. Like we could make different things as we go. There is some of the streamers. Every time you post a emoji, it shows in the screen stream as well, so you could see it floating across the stream in real time. So we could try that out too. It'll be fun. So it could just be like an overlay that just handles most of those things. Okay, so this one has a bit more information. So this one is doing a lot with the body, so we might have to change. We might have to change the body a bit. So is the header. So for the header, we don't use social, so get rid of that. So the header is doing some cool things when it comes to the CSS. It's because it's using before. So the icons themselves are usually you use an image element, but what I'm doing here is that I'm using the before selector to add the image to it. So which is kind of cool because I haven't done that before. Which lets you place icons in different places. You can put it before or after, and then it becomes very easy to style as well. So that's very helpful. Cool. Okay, so we can move some of these things out. Oh wait, I didn't save it, so. Cool. Oh wait, did I? Nope. Let's get rid of this because it's not needed. And this one here because we have it somewhere else. So we just want to make sure that the HTML files are clean and they don't have like a bunch of information that's being it's just all over the place and not being used correctly. And we found some of the classes that we had where like I ended up just copying and pasting it, and I didn't clean up correctly. So we ended up like with a bit of a mess. Okay, so I think that's the last one. So let's make sure this is set up. Okay, so we don't have to wear a brand because like that was the first one that we created. It's a bit of a mess. We did edit, header, notifications, offline, Sandbag, and starting. So I think we finished all of them. So yeah, so as you can see, the body itself shows like when people join and also when people leave too. So if someone leaves, we are able to see that too. So that's kind of what we're going to end up building. So we're going to end up building a way for us to take requests from, so we could just show a message when someone joins. So if someone so the way we know someone joins is that if they have a join command attached to it, and then when someone leaves we have a depart. So we're not going to do anything with depart. So part, we're not going to do anything there. The other thing that we need to handle first is Twitch will send me ping. It's going to send ping notifications from time to time, and we need to respond to those. If not, they're going to kill the bot. So I'm just going to kill it and restart it again, because we want to make sure that it doesn't kill us. So the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to just get as much information from here as I can, and then we're going to start building some test cases so we're able to run this without having to ping the Twitch API over and over again. Cool. So now that we're done with the HTML files, let's just look at our JavaScript files because I want to make sure that we don't have anything too crazy in there. Cool. So this one's very simple. Same thing with this one. So maybe here, I could turn this into one file, and we could use that one file to be able to, into one JavaScript file. So it will make it easier for us to like just reuse it. So again, we're just trying to refactor as much as we can to make it possible to reuse and like to cut down on the number of line codes that we have. We ended up just doing a lot of things really fast. So one thing that we could do is like just go back and change those things. So I'm gonna create an animation file now and just create a function. So I'm gonna create a new function, and then in that function, it's gonna take an element, and then it's also gonna take the path to the JSON. And then it's just gonna return this. So today, I'm taking today as a way to refactor some of the code that we have written in the past week to make sure that it's clean before we start doing anything else. So it's mostly for my own sanity later on when I'm like, oh, I should go back and change this, but this here is now in like 400 different places. Okay, cool. So what we have now is a function that takes an element and then a path when it gets called. So we can just take this here. We don't save this, but we're gonna remove it. So we're gonna remove it. That is coffee. And the coffee animation is used in the standby. I don't remember how to do inline JavaScript, so I will have to look that up. So we could have inline JavaScript that. Okay, so I just need that. Okay, so we're currently animation, and then just make sure that we use the right name for it. Cool. So here we have to pass the element. So we do, oh, I shouldn't have deleted it because then we could have used it. Document that body tag get split again. And then since we're splitting, we could just reuse it. So coffee. Cool. So we pass the element to it because that's what we want, and then the path, which is just here. In our case, it will be sure what the other one didn't work. I might have spelled it incorrectly. Oh, yeah, I did. No. Oh, that's weird. Cool. So now we have one file that does everything that we need. So we just have to call that file. Sorry, we have a JavaScript file that contains our function, and we just could reuse that function over and over again. So we could just use it for. We could reuse it for not the astronaut, the astronaut, yeah. So we could reuse it for the starting page. So we went from like having two files that were doing the exact same thing to having just one file that does everything that it needs, and the information just passed to that one file. So we could just continue doing that over and over again. We could just continue refactoring the code as we go, as much as we can. And then if we need to make any changes in the future, it'd just be very straightforward to make those changes. So here we just want to do so we just paste it. You just have to change a couple of things here to make sure that it matches what we want. Yeah, so we're just cleaning up things, and you could just go. We're gonna go back and just delete the astronaut files. So we don't need it anymore. Cool. Another thing I noticed that I was doing was that I was just including the animation JavaScript file in some places I didn't need it. So I just want to go through all of them and make sure that I am not including it. That one doesn't have it, but it does have these tags, which we don't need anymore. And then yeah, so this one has it. We don't need that file. Fine. Have it. Standby. Has it, but you just take it off. Again, we're just going and just cleaning up things. We don't need this file. We don't need this. This is the animation framework that we're using to animate some of. So to animate the astronaut, we're using a framework that Airbnb created. We don't need that in this case. Well, we do need it. I take it back. We do need it because we're using it on here. So this one does need it. So Standby needs it. And Starting Soon needs it. So those are the only two places that need it. Yeah, so let's just make sure I didn't break it. Cool, yeah, I didn't break it. So now that that's done, we can move to the ghost bar of the code base. So we can start cleaning that up too. So for this one, let's see. Let's start with the main file. We have done a lot here. We added a bunch of caching. We added a bunch of like, we added a way for it to refresh. So I wonder if we could just move some of these things off. And we added the API to it. So we should also move the API out of this too. So we could make it easier for us. Like our main file should only have the main logic to start the server, but that's pretty much it. It shouldn't have any other logic. We should start splitting them up into their own packages. So we should start doing that here too. So the first package I'm going to create is for. So first I want to move this to the cache. So I want to keep the keys with the cache because then we have a one place to update it. So I want to keep updating it there. The other thing, think that I will have to keep for now is the follower refresh time, which we need it, but just pick that for now. And then we're just gonna put it into our cache package. So we have a cache package, and then here we just have a cache. So I'm just gonna go here and just like put it here. It feels like this is where they belong because they're part of the cache. And then we can just rename them a bit. So I'm just gonna rename them because now the way that since they're part of the cache package, you will have to do cache that follower ID key. So we just want to go back and just like make some of those changes there as well, to make sure that it just works. Same thing here. So we're just gonna keep doing it. Like we're gonna like move some of these keys and rename them to make sure that they're clean and make sense later on. Yeah, so this is what happened. So because we didn't reply back to the Twitch API, it killed us. So I should probably add a way for us to just so I'm gonna say line. So there is the Twitch API server, chat servers sending a ping notification every 5 minutes, and if you don't reply with a pong back to them, they will just close the connection. So I'm just want to close the connection. I just don't want to keep reading it. So I'm just gonna read the connect. I'm just gonna read when we get this error here. I'm just gonna close the connection. So this also returns error, but I'm gonna ignore it for now. Yeah. So we need the error. So we're gonna print. And then we print the error, which is so EOF just means end of line, end of file. So there is nothing there. So Twitch closed the connection. So this is just our very simple Twitch chat client. We will make some improvements later as we go, but we're just like making sure that it just has everything that we need to be able to test certain things. So now we could see like, yeah, we could see who's following us. Sorry, who's in the chat right now, and then some of the settings for the chat itself. Because we sent some commands to it, so we could see some other commands that were gonna come back from us. Okay, so I moved some of the keys, and now since I moved some of the keys, I could then go on to. So yeah, so now I move those. I should delete these ones here, and I just have to go and find every place I used it and change it with hash that key and here. Again, we just want to make sure that it is usable and clean. So that means that every time we import, every time that we add a new key, we just add it to the cache package, and then we can just keep using it again and again. And then we're taking off key and just putting it at the end. So we are taking off cache from the start of the file name and just renaming it to key. And we just have to go back to pretty much every place that we used that file name. make sure that build. So we won't run it. We're just gonna build it. Cool. So you could still build it. The next one, the next part I want to do is that I think this whole thing here should belong to its own package. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna create a new package. So I'm gonna create a new package and just add these two functions, and maybe the part down here also should belong in its own function. So I'm gonna just move it all into one function, so I could just like it just becomes encapsulated. So let's close this. For the worker or refresher. Go refresher. Refactor, we're going to add a new file and we're going to call it just refresh. And then I'm just going to create a structure. So the way it works is that we need to pass the refresher. So it needs the configuration and the cache. And it needs the configuration, the cache, Twitch client, and the event, our event server. So we can just create a structure that handles that. So I'm just gonna call it worker. And then in here, I'm gonna have the config. Again, what we're doing right now is just like tidying up. We just want to make sure that our code is clean, and like we did a couple of things in a hurry, so we just want to go back and like refactor it and make it more readable and usable later on. We just care about reusability as much as we can. So that's what we're doing right now. And so the next one is the cache. So we're going to pass the cache, and we're going to do cache. If you haven't seen Go, if you haven't read in Go before, what the start at the beginning of before the name of the variable of the structure, what it's doing is just saying that I'm going to be passing a pointer to it. So that's kind of how you tell the Go compiler that you're going to be passing a pointer. And the reason why you pass pointers instead of just passing a structure directly to the functions is because every time you pass a structure to a function that is not if the variable argument is not a pointer, it will copy it. So you end up with a copy. So you could think about it, you have to copy it multiple times, and sometimes you don't want to do like send a copy of a copy because you have a lot of things in memory. So imagine if you have 1 gig of data in memory and then you pass it to a function, but then when you pass it to the function, you have to copy it another time. So now you have 2 gigs in memory. And then imagine if that function passes it again, now you have 3 gigs in memory. So you just end up copying the data over and over again. And that's kind of why you pass pointers around, because then you end up having less copies of the data. So let's make sure that our bot didn't get killed yet. Oh, it hasn't been killed yet. So we're running another experiment in the background. We're just collecting information about how the Twitch chat server is gonna be like, how the responses look like. So we could just start writing a parser later on. And then so we have the cache, and now we need the Twitch client API. And then we also need the event. So events is just our we roll at the beginning of 2 weeks ago. We roll a event server. So it's called a server send event server, which is kind of like WebSockets, but it's just one-way communication between the server and the client. So now that we have all that information, the next thing we need to do is just create a function that just takes all of that. So we just create new, and we just copy this here. It's just gonna match this signature here. And then it's going to return a pointer of worker. Copy everything. Oh yeah, so we have an extra param. And then we're just going to return a pointer to the worker struct. And in here, we just put the different things that we are passing. So config. Then we could pass the cache. So we have the cache, and then just pass the cache here. C, and then the Twitch client, which is what we use for the API, so we could just pass that down too. And then the last one is the event. Okay, so we have all that now. So now let's reopen. Let's go back here. Our main file again. So we have one that refreshes the current follower. Okay, so the main function that we need is this one here. So this function here. Okay, so put this return here. Oh wait, no, because you want to rerun it here. Okay, so what this function is doing here, it don't need to take any of this. Okay, so what this function does is that it refreshes the cache using the refresh current follower, and then it triggers if there's a response from it, it then triggers. So yeah, so we need to get this one. So usually the way I structure, which you couldn't really see here, the function that depends, if a function depends on another function in the same file, the way I like to structure them is one under the other one. So I'm just gonna, so for here is that refresher depends on the refresh current follower. So we just want to make sure that it's structured like this. And then just move this one here. So we don't, this is only using here. Well, it should be only be used here. And so now let's just attach these functions to, let's just convert them to methods. So to convert them to methods, we just need to add the struct that they belong to. So what we're saying here is that the struct worker has a method called refresher, which is gonna refresh the information. But now makes me wonder if I need some of these things. Let's see. So refresher. Okay, so this one has to be private. I don't think we need to make that one public. And then this is going to be a public. And then we're going to make the refresh round 2. So it's gonna call it get current follower, and then yeah, so let's just rename this current follower argument. So here we're gonna just do the same thing, and we're gonna attach it to the worker struct. And we don't need that, but we don't need this here. So what we're doing now is like all of those arguments are going to be passed as part of the structure. So we have new followers. So let's change here. So client is now part of W, and the config is part of W. Then C is just cache at W. So as we go, you just want to make sure that the code is readable, but also that is it could be reused, right? So the way that was set up before, it was not reused very well. So yeah, so this is about getting kicked out because we didn't reply back to the pen. So if it pings us, we have to reply back to it. So I will build that part of when we start working on it. Cool. So now that that is done, we could then go back here, and event is part of W, and this is part of W. So it's just gonna, this function just calls itself. So it's gonna just call itself. So it calls itself. There was a reason. Oh, okay. So there was a reason why. Okay, so the first time that it starts, we don't want to send any push notification because it's just collecting the username for the user ID for the first time. So the way I was handling it, I was calling the refresher, refresh current follower, and that would set up the cache, and then I would start a timer. But now that we have a structure to keep it in here, we can just create a starting. Let's see. Let's just call it running. So running, and then in here we just do boolean. And then in here we can just do is running. So if it's running, we're gonna send the push notification. If not, then I'll send it. And then at the end, we can just turn it on. So we can just say it's running. So what we're doing now here is that we're saying that for the first time that it runs, it's just gonna ignore. It's not gonna send any push notifications, right? It's just gonna ignore it, and then we're gonna set it to true the first time, and then the second time it's just gonna run. And now that it's running, it's gonna be true. We're gonna send the push notification when a new user gets added. For more context and to recap, this logic here. So what is going on right now is that I'm refactoring some of the codes that we have wrote in the past week and a half and making it more readable and more usable for ourselves. This code does is the code that pings the Twitch API and it shows when there is a new follower. So it goes to the Twitch API, it pings the Twitch API, and then if there is a new follower, it is then going to show it. If there is not new follower, if we don't have a new follower, it's then just going to skip sending that message, the event to the browser. So that's kind of what we're doing here. Cool. And then, so we're sending the event. Cool. So we're sending the event and we're setting it up. So it means that we only have to call refresher once. So back here, we could change this logic here. We could just get rid of all of this here. But let's first just create a worker variable, and inside of that worker, we do refresher that new, and then we pass the creation, we pass the cache, the client, and then we pass the event. And then here we just do worker that refresh, and then we can just get rid of all this here. So what we're doing now is that now we are just getting the refresher, and then we're starting the worker, it's refreshing. So that means that it's just going to take it's just going to start handling requests. So we just want to make sure that it fails. Okay, so there is some errors that we need to fix in the refresher. Oh wait, I have to save this file. Yeah, oh, cool. So what we're doing now is that the refresher is pinging the Twitch API, and then it's pinging the Twitch API. It's gonna if there's a new user, it's gonna ping it. One cool thing that happening now is that we can start writing tests for some of these things. So we might do that in the next stream, where we just take some time and write some tests for the worker to make sure that the worker is behaving the same way that we wanted it to, and we just tweak some of the configuration for it. Cool. So the worker is now in a better state. So we now took some of the code from here, and then just created a package out of it. The next thing that we need to move out of this is the API handler, because I don't think the API should be here. So we should just move it to its own package, so it could become easier for us to make changes and add new APIs. So let's get rid of this. Just close this file. We're back to main, and then we're gonna create a new directory. So this one will be, I'm just gonna call it API, and then inside of the API, I'm gonna just create a new package and just call it goals. And then here, something. Cool. let's make sure that this is still running. Okay, it's still running. So it's still running, and we're getting some events out of this. So we will take some time and figure out how to parse some of these things, like the different commands. For example, like figuring out when someone, like the different styles that Twitch sends information to the API. The different formatting that we need to be able to handle when Twitch, when we start communicating to Twitch. But for now, let's just continue cleaning up. So I'm just gonna take this here and I'm gonna move it to our new goals package. The best thing about moving things into their own package is because you don't have to do this weird naming anymore. So it makes it a lot easier to just like so it makes it a lot easier for us to deal with these certain things. And here we just need to do maybe we should just make this into fun. But for now, API, not API, it's gonna be goals. And since we're using, so yeah, it's better if I move it to his own, to give a new function. So because we have a set of private methods, private fields that we don't want to expose. So we take conf, and conf is a pointer to config.config, and then hash. It's just a pointer to cache that, and then we return a pointer to goals, and we return a pointer of goal. It's just pretty much setting the cache cell. And here we just get rid of all of this. Just to and see. Oh, it's because I didn't save. I see what I'm doing wrong. So I'm trying to do some weird stuff with the pointers. Cool. So our main file looks more simpler now. It's just handling setting up things and getting just putting things into place and putting us in a state where we could start just like sending the information to it. Sorry, so we could start doing the scaffolding. And then we could take that information and move from there. So like we could figure out like different things we could do. So let's jump on. So okay, so we have that set up. So cool. We got 2 pings and then he kicked us out again. Sorry, I lost my place. Okay, so it continues to build. So that means that our refactoring didn't break anything. So we could also run our tests. I believe some of the tests will fail. So we could fix those too. Yeah, some of the tests fell. So we have to fix those. Because we made some changes to what the Twitch client returns, we have to just make some changes to those tests too. So for everyone that is joining, quick recap of what is going on. So we ended up writing a ton of Go code and JavaScript in the past week and a half. What we're doing now is like going through it and just cleaning things up. So there is like a lot of the code was just like in one place, or some of the code was just like copy and paste it into multiple places, and then where we could just have one place and then reuse that one place. What we're doing there now is just like going and cleaning some of those places and making sure that some of those places are in a better state, that we could just continue using them again. So that's kind of what we're doing. And then at the same time, on Friday we wrote a very simple Twitch chat client, which we are running to collect some information of how the Twitch chat servers behave. And so what we have in the screen right here is a way for us to just get some output from the Twitch client, so we could make sure that we're doing the client's doing what we want. And so we just want to make sure that it works correctly. So that's kind of what is going on in the left side of the screen. Is just us running the client. And then, so as far as the refactoring, we broke some of the tests that we wrote a while back. So we just want to go back and clean some of those tests up, so we could just start reusing them again. What broke the test was because we added a header on top of our stream. So some of the information that we need is like the counter, the number of followers that we have. So the goal of what we're doing right now is just, so we added the counter, but then we had to refactor a bit, but we never went back and fixed our task. This is what I'm doing now. I'm just fixing our task. Excuse me. So I would need a better name for our followers, so. Let's go with data for it. So the changes that we did here that changed some of the code that we're using is that we needed a way to keep track of the count, and the Twitch API returns the count. So we had to create just change our structure a bit to be able to capture the count. So we just have to go and just make sure that any place that is was using that structure is up to date with the changes. That's the last one. So our event server is also filled. I see. So I think we did some changes to how the response for the event server. So the length is smaller. So I wonder if we change something up. One thing I want to do is like this thing here. This thing here is a bit noisy. So let's see if that's gonna fall through. It won't fall through. Yeah. So the error is that the length is too big. So let's just look at what. I think we need to make this a bit clearer. So length should always be the same length. So that's what it got. And to return. Should just return what is inside of lane, so string. Oh, it's because we changed. Do we change? Expecting. So we're expecting a. Okay, so the issue is that it's expecting two characters, and those two characters aren't showing up. Why is that? Oh, was it because I removed the quotes? Yeah, so we were wrapping the data in quotes, and we don't need to do that. So we don't need to do that. Okay, I think that did it. Yeah, so the issue that was happening was that our event server was sending the data wrapped in single quotes, and then when we're reading it in JavaScript, when we're getting the data from JavaScript, it will just show up in single quotes again, and then there was no easy way for us to parse it. So what I did was I got rid of the single quotes, and that was what was causing the issue. Yeah, so that's kind of how our okay, I think we're in a good state. Okay, so now for the chat server. So the chat server itself, right now the issue that is happening is that it gets kicked out of the chat. Yeah, seriously, single quotes and double quotes, it's always an issue. So what we're gonna try to do is, okay, so maybe I should read a bit more about like the different badges, because I want to see like what the displays are, right? So if you see the message that just got sent in the chat from SSP 2014, we could see a lot of information around it. So I think the first thing that we should do for our chat server, at least for the distribution stream, is first let's figure out how to handle the ping, because Twitch keeps pinging us and we don't reply back. So they keep kicking us out. So if we don't reply back, the connection gets closed because it thinks that we are not listening anymore. So it's just gonna kick us out. So we need to handle that. So we need to handle the pings, and I believe the way you handle the pings is by returning a on back to the server, to the Twitch server. And then the next thing that we will have to figure out is how do we parse all the information that we're getting, because we're getting a lot of information. So this is just one request, right? So this is one request that we got. So we just want to make sure, we just have to go back and check that information. So the thing maybe that I want to do first is maybe I want to take it in a different direction. So first I'm going to handle the ping request, because if we don't respond back, Twitch is just close the connection. And then the next thing I want to handle is just like every time someone joins, I just want to figure out how to do that. So every time someone joins, I want to give a quick 1 or 2 liner of like, hey, this is what we're doing. This is kind of like what we're trying to do. And yeah, so you just close the connection because we didn't reply back. This is what we're doing. This is what we're working on right now. So let's do that. Let's go and figure out. So I want to check the Twitch API for pings. So every 5 minutes, I will get a ping, and to ensure the connection to server is not prematurely terminated, reply with a pong, and then some tags. So let's see. So we're saying, okay, so that's kind of what we're saying. We're saying, here is your ping, and I'm gonna reply back to you with a pong. So, so we could do that. Then we ping them back. We want to make sure that when we ping them back, we ping them with so we have to send back the domain. So we have to make sure that we send that domain back to them, because if we don't send it back to them, it was gonna be so let's see. So whatever they send us back, so what is the thing that they've been sending us back? So they're sending us back, so they ping us. Where's the ping? Okay, so they're pinging us back. So we need to, they're gonna ping us with this message. So the message that they're sending is emi.twitch.tv. So we just have to make sure that when we ping them back, we ping them back with the same message. So that's the first thing that we're gonna do. So we're just gonna let's go back to this one. So the goal of what we're trying to achieve right now is a way for us to connect to the Twitch chat server, and then from the Twitch chat server, we're gonna take that information and we're gonna send it back to them, so they don't close the connection. So every 5 minutes, our Twitch client is being disconnected because we're not responding back to the ping. So what we're doing is making sure that we don't get disconnected. So it's gonna be a 2 part. So the first part will be making sure that the client doesn't get disconnected, but then the next part will be probably just a way for us to post back a message every time someone joins the chat saying like what we're working on. I think that would be more important and more fun for us to do. So so right now the way it works is that we're getting a line. We just need to figure out how to parse the line. So if there's an error, we're gonna just print it for now, and then we just need to parse the line. So we just have to go and figure out how to parse the line. So one thing we could do is like we could use so Go has the strings package. So it has a string package, and we could use something like contains. So contains will let us find, it's gonna let us find what is pinging us. Another way to do it, which I would probably start for simplicity, I'm just gonna stick with contain for now. But one thing that I could do is I could use some kind of so like tokenizer, and so I could create like a tokenizer to be able to parse to the response, and then so create like a tokenizer to parse the response, and then return a structure that says like what kind of message it is. But for now, to keep it simple and to just make sure that it works, we're just gonna keep it simple for now. Maybe tomorrow I will go into creating like the parser, which I think will be very fun to create. But for now, let's just go with the simpler solution. So because we want to just keep it as simple as possible, just so we know first that it works correctly, but it also that we understand like the different messages that we send. So I'm gonna use contain. So the way that contains works is that it takes the line. So we're gonna take the line. What we're looking for is ping. Okay, let's see what it does. So it returns a boolean. Okay, so the way that the server works right now, so what the server is doing right now is that the server is returning, is pinging us. So it pings us, and so now it's pinging us with a message. So we know how now have the message. So we could do, okay, so we have the message. The next thing that we have to do is figure out is to send back this here. So I'm just gonna get a variable. I could just split it. So let's do parts, and then the stream package also has something called split. So we are just gonna send a split. So what we're splitting by, so the way it looks like is like this, right? So we could split it by the colon. So that means that the second message will be what we want. So we do, so we pass the string. So we pass line, and then we're splitting it by colon, right? So now we have that. So let's just, for now, you just print this. Let's make sure that we're getting the right information. Strings that contains just checks that the line has whatever response we are getting from the Twitch API, chat server contains ping. If it contains ping, where they're gonna split the line by colon, so something like this. And then since we're doing by colon, we are gonna get the parts, and the part that we want to send back to the Twitch API is 1, which is this part here. So we want to send that back to the Twitch API, and we're gonna get that one in a few minutes. So let me try it out. Cool. So now we just have to wait 5 minutes, and during the 5 minutes, I'm just gonna go to the Twitch API and see what else are they gonna send. Cool. So we need to figure out how to parse these different messages. So I would say like these ones here are the welcome messages. So I will call them welcome messages, and then when you tell it which what capabilities your client has, it returns back acknowledging them. So I will call those acknowledge. So let's just split things up a bit. Let's create the type of messages that we're going to be getting. So the way to think about this is I'm going to create an enum that has like the different kind of messages that we're going to be getting. So it makes it easier for us to parse later on. So I'm just gonna call it message types, or just, I don't think I need to do that. So let's do this. So I don't think the first one is welcome. It's this one here. So I'm gonna do and then I'm gonna use iota. So okay, so okay, so there is that one. Welcome message. So we have the welcome message, which is so our welcome message is just this one's here. So welcome message, then there is the, let's see, there is a global state, so global user state message, which is the next message that we get. So we're getting the global state. So the global state, I think, is just like how the chat is set up, like who could talk in the chat, and like the also a bit about the user that is connected, and then the state of this channel. So and then since we have the state of the channel, the next thing that we need to do is so we have state of the channel. Wait, no. So the first one is not the state of the channel. That's the third one. The second one is the state of the channel of the broadcaster. So this is the broadcaster. So in this case, it's my information, and it says am I displaying it? Well, no. Alright, got lost. So we have the global state, which is this one here. Then we have the join message, which is what I'm missing. So it goes global state, join. Okay, so Twitch pinged us, but we didn't. Oh, yeah, we did. So we need to ping them back. Okay, so that part worked. So we're getting back the right information. We just have to ping them back. So we should go back to the instructions. Okay, so we just have to send them a message with this information here. So what they're doing is making sure the connection is open, like the client's still listening. If it's not listening, it's just gonna kick it out. But if it doesn't reply, so what we need to do is reply to it, so we could keep our client connected longer. And again, some of the stuff that we're doing is very repetitive, but since we're keeping it simple, we're just gonna go back and refactor some of it. Cool. So this will stop us from getting disconnected. Okay, so we have global state, then we have, okay, so we have the global state, So it's pretty much the information of the account that is connected and the ID of that account. Then we have the join message. So global state join message. Then we have this here. Maybe the welcome message, or I think we're missing information. 35. Oh, there we go. So the thing that was missing was that some of the users are in the chat right now were not showing up because it was taking some time for it takes. So every 10 seconds is when we're gonna get more information. So that's what happened. So let's see. We have the user state for the channel. So this is the user state for. So there is the global state. So there is join. I'm gonna get rid of this for now. Welcome message global user state. Then there is current channel user state. So this is the state of like, so the account that we're using to connect to the server, that's where that state is kept. And then the next one is the channel state, which I think I have. Yeah, so we have the channel state, and then we have all the join messages. And we shouldn't forget about the ping messages. So so let's just group them together. So welcome message, current channels, current. Let's see, current channel user state. So, or current user global state current user state. So the current user, so this one here just says the state of the user that just connected. So sorry, of the current user. So that means that we could change it too. So I need to make it into moderator, but I will do that later. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so I think we have all the states that we need for now. The next thing I want to do is post a message. So let's do something like, so when starting up, you want to so we need to read a file, so let's just make a file. Call it currently working on .tx. Working on building a Twitch chat client using to be able. Okay. So with the message itself says, working on building a Twitch chat client using Go to be able to show chat messages in the live stream. So please feel free to ask any questions. Just leave it. Okay, so now we have a file that we are using. I should move this again because we want to keep things simple. I'm just gonna move it to inside the RC chat. Okay, so we have it in here, and now the goal is that every time someone joins the chat, we were gonna show that message. Cool. Should go in there. Okay, so back here, we just need to read a file. So I believe I could do something like an error, and here I can just do file, and then the file that we want to read is already there, so we're going to do current working. Cool. And that should return a. Now we're just going to print it to see how it looks. So I'm going to comment this out, because if you connect too much to the server, to the Twitch chat server, they might end up blocking us. So I just want to make sure that we're connecting correctly to, getting the content of the file correctly in Go. And then we could take it from there. And because we're running this in main for now, we are just gonna throw an error. And then we do L2 file with then we just return the error, and then see what is in here. So read file returns a slice of byte, so we just have to turn it back into a string for us to look at it. Cool. So we're seeing that message. Okay, so that works. So add that back, and we add this back. And then we just write to it. So we're just gonna write. We are just gonna use the write function. So we're gonna do. We're gonna write to the connection, and then for the connection we need to pass. What was it? Private message. Private message. And then as part of the private message, we need to send channel. So whatever channel is, which is Miguel. And then the message itself, which is followed by that and this. Cool. That will send a message. What we need to do now is that we need to just same setup here. We are gonna use need to look for join. The thing we need to think about is that we don't want to send it. So if you look at it, we got it this many times, so we shouldn't send it that many times. So we should just like add it into like a timer or something. So maybe I should put it inside of a timer and then reset a timer. Because we only want to send it once. So let's see how we can do it. In this case, when we first join, when we first join, we got a bunch of join messages. So we just want to make sure that we don't. So for now, I'm just gonna do. Want to make sure that we're here. I might just comment this out for now, because if not, I'm gonna just send a bunch of spam to the chat. So one of my worries about sending the message is that in 10 seconds or so, we are gonna get, wait, what did I get here? There. Oh, I see. So, it before. Yeah, that makes sense. So I join, and then I don't get any join message. Let's see what happens. So first, I'm gonna just ignore the first join. So I need to ignore the first join. So the way we would do that is I'm just gonna call it just self join. So this means I'm gonna set it to true. So if this is true, so let's see if of join, I set it to false. So we want to set it back to false because at that point it's not ourselves joining, it's someone else. Okay, and then we continue. So since we're using a for loop, we could just continue. So what we're saying here is, actually just move this. What we're doing here, what we're saying in this line here is, this is myself, so I was the one that just joined. We are going to ignore it. So again, we're saying with the simplicity here, there's other things we could do to make sure that it doesn't fire messages when we're first joining. But for now, I'm going with just handling just in case of someone joining. So we're going to say someone just joined, so myself. Okay, then we're going to restart it. Okay, so we didn't see that message again firing because we were the first one to join. So now one thing that we could do is I could just have the chat account join the chat and leave the chat, join the chat and leave the chat for us to test. I will probably just do it once so I don't spam the chat itself. So need to log in. So what we're doing now is just a way to so every time someone joins the chat, we're gonna send a message saying like this is what we're working on. So let's do that. So let's see. Signing. Yeah, so like we need to figure out how to handle all those people joining. For now, I'm just gonna ignore it. But we should see ourselves joining the chat too. Let's see if we see ourselves. So it takes about 10 seconds for messages to come through. So if someone joins in 10 seconds, we should be able to see it. And then after those 10 seconds, let's see. So I'm just gonna I just left. It's weird that it hasn't sent the messages yet. Getting myself that, so okay. Yeah, I get kicked out. No. Let's type something in the shop and see if it so it looks like since I'm part of the chat already, because I'm the one writing the messages, it's just gonna show, it's not gonna connect me. So if you're watching and you could just disconnect. Can you please just like stop watching and then start watching again? So we could see the event of you leaving and then coming back as part of the chat. So we could make sure that it works. Thank you. So I wonder if it also is like you have to wait the 10 seconds before it does it. So or we could set it up and then just wait until tomorrow and see if it works. So what we want to do is so it didn't kick you out. So I wonder if it's like if there's like a timeout. But for now, we just test it out and see what happens. Okay, so we could take this off and then start again. So we might just see a bunch of messages being sent to the chat, and I will just clean it up. So so we're waiting, and see what happens. So for context, what we're trying to do is we're gonna have a thing what we're working on, read into a file, and then when someone joins, we're gonna send a message. Okay, so it does work, right? But it only works once, which is great, because the Twitch API is telling us that we're sending too many messages too quickly. So we're already limiting ourselves there. But what we want to achieve works. That means that for now, I'm just gonna keep it as it is. And then if we could just move on, tomorrow we could make it more interesting. Thank you so much for watching. We are gonna rate one of my favorite streamers. He's very awesome, and he's doing some Python, so we could learn some Python ourselves. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. As always, it's been a pleasure. I hope you learned something. And if you have any questions, always ask. I will see you guys tomorrow, so we continue building our chat server.